Rachel Griffiths, and I'm with my father and partner in aquatics,
Dr. Tom Griffiths.
Welcome to the Drowning Files, where each week we'll share a lawsuit we're involved in or another true story with suggestions to learn from these tragedies to save lives. What case do you have today?
This case is a little bit different. It involves a good swimmer drowning in a southern state in a YMCA pool, a very nice, large 50-meter pool, outdoor 50-meter pool. And what we have here is a real good swimmer, a former Navy SEAL, comes to the pool to work out as usual, and he's swimming long course, 50 meters, twice what a indoor pool, 25-yard pool would be, twice the length. And he starts out doing a swimming workout, but then he switches to a drill we call dolphining. Now, dolphining is where you put on masks, fins, and snorkels like a skin diver. And when you're doing your lengths, you do a third on the surface, a third underwater, and you finish up with a third on the surface. Variations of that theme, where you swim vigorously on the surface, vigorously on the bottom of the pool, and then vigorously on the top. And you keep doing that over and over and over again. Now, many people know about hypoxic blackout, or as people call it, shallow water blackout. And that occurs when you black out when you're doing extreme breath holding that is competitive and repetitive. And this swimmer doing dolphining lengths, 50 meters long, over and over and over, was a prime candidate for shallow water blackout. Two lifeguards were on duty. They were watching the people in the pool. It was a slow day, lap swimmers only in the pool, swimming back and forth. And on one of the underwater lengths or attempts, the snorkeler, the swimmer, just didn't come back up to the surface. He remained on the bottom. He blacked out. And the lifeguards didn't spot him. Other people in the pool swimming laps swam over the top of him at least more than once, a couple times, 2 or 3 times, and finally saw him unconscious on the bottom after a couple passes, then went to the lifeguard and told him that there's someone down on the bottom of the pool. The lifeguards responded immediately, recovered him from the pool, put him on the pool deck, did resuscitation efforts, but they were unsuccessful, and the young man drowned. And that was the case we had several years ago in a southern state. And of course, the parents of this young man, who I believe was in his mid to late 20s, drowned, and the family blamed the lifeguards for not being attentive. And in a case like this, usually what the plaintiff does, the party suing does, is the attorney just walks through the American Red Cross lifeguarding book and, reads what the lifeguards should be doing when this person got into trouble, and tries to say that they were not doing what the Red Cross says. And so this was a big case. I was working for the defense, and because of his background in the military, and because of his knowledge of swimming and snorkeling and so forth, I said that the lifeguards were there. They were doing their job. They weren't derelict in their duties. They just missed them, which is easy to do when other people are in the pool and they agitate the surface, which has an obscuring effect on the bottom.
And what we find a lot of times that somebody other than the lifeguard is the first one to spot the person in trouble or on the bottom of the pool. Also, what leads to this type of thing, the underwater hypoxic blackout or shallow water blackout, is when you hold your breath for a long time or do exert yourself through activity. So when I was on the swim team when I was a kid at the outdoor swim club, we used to have a practice once in a while that the whole team would look forward to, where at the end of practice, we would have a competition with all of the ages, the oldest people, the 18 year olds, all the way down to the 6 and unders would all compete and see who could go the most lengths underwater without taking a breath. And whoever won, which was usually the male 18-year-olds or the oldest ones on the team, would get to skip the next practice. So it was a big morale building activity, but that's the type of thing that can lead to underwater hypoxic blackout or shallow water blackout, those types of things where you're competing and going underwater for a while.
Interestingly, wasn't this the case? I know it happened in State College where a parent watching it jumped out of the stands watching practices. Stop! You can't do this. It's very dangerous. And he happened to be an astronaut. Did that occur during this event?
No, that was just at our local swim team in the summer where we would have. That didn't happen when I was doing it, but we would have competition.
It did happen where we're from to a similar pool, if not the same pool, but the guy jumped out of the stands and fortunately stopped it. But that there is an incredibly dangerous activity because you have all the elements of shallow water blackout. You have competition. You have holding your breath for as long as you can, swimming as far as you can, and the winner gets the prize. That's a recipe for disaster right there.
And what people going to the pool can remember is just watching how much you're holding your breath, trying not to do competitions to hold your breath the longest. And then there's more and more coach education about trying to prevent shallow water blackout, but those types of things should not be continued to be done during practices.
Right. And a good place to go for more information is, and they changed their name, it used to be shallowwaterblackoutprevention.org, and now it's underwaterhypoxicblackout.org. That's a good reference and a resource. Going back to the case, a lot of finger pointing. The family who lost their son said the lifeguard should have done a better job, and the defense was he was doing something dangerous. He should have known better, and lifeguards look, but oftentimes they don't see. And just because they don't see doesn't mean they weren't looking. And so there was a settlement, a decent sized settlement for the family, but it was a very difficult case, particularly in these types of cases. The swimmer's a really good swimmer. And so you wouldn't, even the lifeguards don't expect him to drown. But of course, with extreme breath holding, that's a common occurrence.